All right. So, guys, on the topic of LifeX today, um, LifeX was one of the, to kind of piggyback what Phil just said, I was really excited when LifeX came to the market, as well as America's Choice, which it's not America's Choice anymore. It's Iron Health now. But I was really excited when these products came to the market because these were basically major med plans outside of the ACA, right? You can't get major medical outside of the ACA. Well, used to not be able to. Short-term major medical was about the closest thing you can get to it, and then some of these limited benefit plans you're able to add catastrophic riders and kind of build something that's close to major med. But now you can sign up an individual for major medical outside of the ACA. So it's very exciting. I did sit on the sidelines as I typically do when new products hit the market. I like to sit on the sidelines for 6 months or even a year and kind of see how they operate, make sure that they're going to stick around. Because since the ACA has become our world, 12 years ago, it's pretty common for products to hit the market and then to come off the market just as quick. So I like to sit on the sidelines. I like to see how things are going. But LifeX has they've hung in there. All right. So they're still standing strong. And they certainly had their share of some issues and some growing pains. But they're still operating to the tune of, I believe, 60,000 policies on the books currently, which is just an incredible amount of growth to experience, in their short existence. So we're going to go over LifeX and talk about the value that they bring to the market. So real quick, let's dive in. Let's say, who is LifeX? LifeX is not an insurer. Okay, it's not insurance. What LifeX is a research corporation. Okay, so LifeX is a company. All right, and when you guys are selling LifeX as an insurance product, what you're actually doing is recruiting. What's the term they use for them? I probably should have had this ready to go for this training. Research. Phil, if you know it, tell me. Research something. Anyway.
Research Corp. LifeX Research Corp.
Yeah, LifeX Research Corp is the corporation, but when you sell a policy to a policy holder, what you're actually doing is recruiting a research something, right? I don't know what they actually call them. I don't know what the actual term is for that individual, but you are actually a recruiter. Okay, so you're recruiting employees into LifeX so they can take advantage of the LifeX group health plan. Okay, that's how they've been able to utilize the law in their favor and then use all these different workarounds to now provide major medical outside of the ACA, and it's essentially group health insurance. Okay, so this is group health insurance that can be made available for individuals. But for individuals to qualify for this group, they have to become a part of a group. And the group that they become a part of is the LifeX Research Corp. Okay. Now, the work that they're required to do is actually to take surveys. Okay. So every month, LifeX Research Corp is going to email your policyholders a survey, and they're required to fill out at least one every year, and they can fill out as many as 12, right? They could do it every month if they want. They are paid to fill out these surveys. Okay, they're paid at a rate of $40 per hour, and each survey is estimated to take about 15 minutes. So they're paid $10 per survey. Okay, so they can get a W-2 at the end of the year for as much as $120. All right, if they do all 12 surveys. They have to do at least one. They have to get paid in order to be considered an employee of LifeX Research Corp. Okay. And the guys, this is important for you to explain this stuff to your clients when you're enrolling them, because after they enroll, when they get, when they're required to fill out their I-9 and enroll in ADP, ADP payroll service. I mean, they're gonna be like, what is this, right? What am I doing here? So it's important that you explain the logistics and that you yourself understand, um, that this is how they're able to take advantage of these plans. All right. So you're recruiting team members, right? You're recruiting research. God, I wish I knew the term. Right? It's on the tip of my tongue. Research people, right? We'll just call them.
Like surveys? You talking surveys or?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what they do. They complete the surveys, but what are the employees actually called? What's their title um, as employees of LifeX? They're
Oh,
called research something or others. Anyway,
I'll check.
um, yeah, Phil's gonna get us that. So research something or others, right? Research people. That's who you're recruiting. Okay. All right. So um, it's also important for you guys to understand who the other players are in this thing. Okay, so you've got let me share my screen here. I'm pretty sure that I have this ready to go for you. All right, here we go. So you got LifeX, which is the research corp. Okay, that's the company that your employees are going to work for. The TPA, all right, the company that's actually sending them the cards and administrating their claims and paying their claims, that is Benefit Health Plan Inc. Okay, so BHPI, all right, is going to be the third party administrator that's actually managing their health benefits, right, paying their claims for them. KMG, who's not listed here, KMG is the billing organization as well as the website developer. They are the technology platform. Okay, so when your clients are billed for a LifeX plan, it's actually going to show up on their bank statement as KMG services. Okay, so that's their health insurance essentially. Okay, KMG. They will be enrolled in ADP for payroll. All right, so ADP will be paying them, their $10 an hour to complete their surveys. And Network Pros is actually who you guys work for as recruiters. Okay, so you become a recruiter of Network Pros, and then you're going to go out and recruit research people, right, who are going to be your policy holders. So those are the logistics, right? And those are all the moving parts. Okay, so it's my goal to just kind of simplify that for you and keep it as dummied down as possible. But LifeX Research Corp is not a health insurer. It's not an insurance company. They are they're a research company that you are enrolling your policyholders into so they could work for them, and their job is to complete surveys that get emailed to them on a monthly basis. They're paid $10 per survey. All right. And then Benefit Health Plan, BHPI, Benefit Health Plan Inc. is going to be the TPA that handles their benefits. And KMG is going to be the technology platform that I'll show you how to enroll them on, and you'll have the back office, and that's who's going to bill them. Okay, so those are the players that are involved in this entire operation. Okay. Whew, now we can get into the policies. Okay. I sent a link to you guys on the chat, all right, which will take you to this website here. Okay. And this has all of the brochures and plan comparisons that you would possibly need. Okay. Client wants to know something about LifeX and the plans that are available. This website in the chat, this is all you need. All right. You wouldn't want to send your client to this because this would just confuse the heck out of them, right? It's your job as a professional broker to, do a good qualification of your client, right? In the discovery phase, right? We're going to figure out what their needs are, and we're going to prescribe the plan that we think best fits their needs. And then we can obviously pivot if we need to. All right. But this is where you guys are going to be able to pull all those brochures. Okay. Um, so there's a few different types of policies. Okay. You've got major med policies. Okay. You've got, and here we go. Here's the different comparisons for the major med policies. All right. And I'm kind of got, I'm not going to go line by line on all of these different benefits for you guys because we'll be here all night. Right. But I'll tell you kind of what the main differences are to each of these policies. A major med plan with LifeX is straight major med. I mean, it's going to function the exact same way that any other major med plan would. All right, where you've got your deductible, your co-insurance, right? That equals your maximum out of pocket. You've got your copays, as you guys can see here. So you've got some copays for doctors, specialists, urgent care, right? Telemed is all free, right? Emergency room subject to the copay and co-insurance, right? Labs, you got a copay. Again, I'm not going to go through every single thing here, but it operates the exact same way as any other major med plan would. All right. So that's the major med option. Then you're going to have a copay option. Okay. And the copay option is is basically a major med plan that offers copays, but the deductible has to be met prior to the copays being available. Okay, so if you notice where it says primary care visits here, right, on these plans, you've got a $50 copay after the deductible. Okay, so your client this plan's going to be a little bit cheaper than the major med plan would, right? Because on the major med plan, you come right out of the gates and you got, you're paying copays for, your various visits prior to paying anything towards the deductible. On this plan, you've got to meet the deductible before you get to take advantage of the copays for the visit. So the deductible options are going to be 500, 750, 1,000, and 1,500. All very low deductibles in the world of health insurance. Okay. But this plan is also going to be less expensive than the major med plan would. Right. So, and it reads really nice, guys. I mean, and this is, to be honest with you guys, this is the most popular policy that I've sold to this point. I've only got about 20 of these policies on the books right now. I'm not a big rock star producer these days. But I've got about 20 of these on the books, and this is the most common option. And I usually go with either the 500 or the $1,000 deductible. Okay, those are the most common options that I sell. And I tell the clients, look, you got to meet the $500 deductible prior to paying the $50 copay when you go to the doctor. All right, but that's going to be the biggest difference between the copay plan and the major med plan. Okay. Then you have what's called the VL plan. Okay. Which is a limited policy. Okay. It's going to be a policy that has limits. Now, just like the copay plan, you've got to meet your deductible. Okay. Prior to taking advantage of the copays that are available. All right. But then once you get into the copay portion, now you've got limits to the amount of visits that you can have. For example, you'll see $50 copay after the deductible. Okay. So in this plan specifically, you're going to have a $250 deductible to meet. Okay. You've satisfied that, right? The $250 deductible is gone. Now you're going into the copays. And you're going to have $50 copays at the primary care, the specialist, the urgent care, the chiropractor. All right. And you get 10 visits per year covered. Okay. Okay. So 10 visits per year. 12 to the chiropractor. So 10 visits for primary care, for specialists and urgent care. And then you get another dozen visits to the chiropractor. But there's a limit there, right? So this is going to be the least expensive plan option. Okay. And guys, for most people, 10 visits is more than enough, right? Because who's our target market when we're selling these policies? Our target market is going to be healthy individuals. Okay. And you guys will notice when we're going to go through the application. I'm going to show you guys the questions on the application. It's not like any other insurance application that you're used to, because again, this is not an insurance application, right? Technically, this is a job application, right? We are hiring these people into LifeX Research Corp to take surveys for us, right? And their qualifications of these jobs are that they are healthy individuals. Okay, so we're going to have some health questions there. And if they answer yes to any of the health questions, they're knockouts. All right. But then we're also going to have some employment questions there, like, what was what was your highest level of education, right? Do you possess any professional licenses, and so on. You guys will see those questions here in a few minutes. All right. But this is going to be your least expensive plan, the VL. Okay. Again, because they have to meet the deductible, and then there's a limit to the amount of office visits, the amount of copays that are going to be covered annually. All right. And you'll see there's limits on everything too. So emergency room, okay, 2 visits per year on the emergency room, right? Diagnostic testing, 3 visits per year. Labs, 3 per year. X-rays, 3 per year. Okay. Again, I won't go through all of them here line by line, but you guys can see now the VL plan, they're going to enjoy a much lower premium, right? But these are going to be for your healthiest individuals, right? They've got to get through the questionnaire anyway, and so they've got to be healthy. They can't have cancers in the last so many years. They can't have, heart disease and things like that. But this is going to be for your healthiest block of clients, okay? As I said before, guys, the most popular plan I sell is going to be the PPO plan. The no limits to the visits, and no limits on the diagnostic testing, and no limits on the ERs. Clients are obviously more comfortable with that. And usually to meet a $500 deductible or even $1,000 deductible in our world, that's minimum, right? Because the deductibles that they're staring in the face when they go on the ACA is what, $9,000, right? $8,000. So a $500 deductible to knock out is no problem. Okay. And then the last type of policy that is going to be available with LifeX is an HSA policy. Okay. And you've got 3 different deductible options with the HSA policies. Okay. 3,500, $5,000, and 8,300. Right. Now the HSAs work like this. If you're not familiar with an HSA is a health savings account. Okay. And it really is advantageous for self-employed people, right? Small business owners, anybody that is in the gig economy, anybody that's operating off of 1099, taking their money in tax-free. That's who's going to really benefit from having an HSA account. Okay. So the way an HSA account works is this. You have your health insurance policy, and you will take that policy to a bank. Okay. And you'll tell your banker, I want to set up an HSA account. Okay. And you'll be able to set up an HSA account, and you'll be able to contribute up to and I'm not up to date on the specifics. Maybe Phil could look that one up for me too, but I think it's 6,500 annually currently. Phil's going to get us that exact number, how much you can, because it changes over the years, but I think it's 6,500. But anyway, we're going to know that number in a minute, how much you can contribute to an HSA account annually. So you have a limit that you can contribute every year to your HSA account. And as your money is coming in tax-free, right, and it's going into that HSA account, it's coming out of that HSA account and it's being used to satisfy your out of pocket on your health insurance policy. And it's also tax free. Okay. Did you throw that in the chat there? Where are we at? 8,700 per family. That's the max. 4,400. Okay, here's what we got. IRS announced increase to HSA contributions, 4,400 for self-only coverage, 8,750 for family. So there it is. All right. So that's how much an individual and a family can contribute every year to their HSA account. Now that's money going in tax-free, and that's money coming out tax-free, but it can only be used for healthcare. Okay. It can be used to satisfy your out of pocket on your major medical policy. Okay. Um, and so, obviously the benefits of an HSA and somebody that's, financially savvy, they're going to understand those benefits, right? And that's going to be the clientele that, is going to move towards an HSA. And guys, these are things these aren't new concepts to the industry. HSAs have been around for quite a while. Ever since I got in the business in 2005, HSAs have existed. So obviously they were around before me. And small business owners, they understand them, okay, today. All right. So a lot of times when you are talking to a prospect and you mention, what I would do is I'd go in with a traditional policy, right? I'd go in with the traditional, here's your deductible, here's your 80/20 to your max out of pocket, here's your copays for this, your copays for that. I'd go really traditional, right? But if I'm doing an IUL with somebody or an annuity, right? Or I'm doing their, financial planning in addition to their health insurance, that might be somebody I'd say, hey, look, we have HSA options available too, right? You want to go ahead and take a look at what we have available when it comes to HSAs. Okay, that's going to be your client for an HSA. Going to be a business owner that gets it, right? They're financially savvy. Okay, so those are the 4 different types of policies. All right. Your major medical, very traditional major medical. Copay plan, which is a major medical where the deductible has to be satisfied before you can take advantage of the copays. Then you have the VL series, all right, and the VL series is going to work the same way as the copay plan, where the deductible has to be met. Then you can enjoy the copays, but then there are limits on how many visits, okay, or how many tests you can have every year. And then you have the HSA plans, all right? 3 different deductible levels with the HSA plans, all right? And guys, that website I gave you is going to give you all of the, different brochures to the different policies. Dive in there, break it down, learn it. But if you just know what I just told you, you know enough to present, okay? You're in a good enough spot to be able to present. Because once you are appointed, once you become a recruiter with LifeX, and you can now hire LifeX Research Corp research people, this is going to be your enrollment platform, okay? So you'll see you've got all the policies broken down here, and you guys will see that they've also got Humana vision plans that are connected as well. And you guys know my view when it comes to dental and vision, right? It sells like French fries, right? Dental and vision, if you just ask every single one of your clients, hey, would you like to add dental? Hey, would you like to add vision? 50% of them are going to say yes. So we don't go too deep into dental and vision plans, all right? Because I don't think that I've included it in a preliminary quote for probably the last 8 years, right? Every time I send a quote, it's just the health plan loaded up with some supplements, and then I sell the dental plans at the end after the deal's done. Oh, by the way, we didn't talk about dental, right? You want to talk about dental, which is also when I would upsell life insurance and upsell any other thing that I had in my tool belt. All right, but here's your enrollment platform, okay? And real simple to get a price, okay? Let's just say we want to look at the major med plan, $3,500 deductible. Okay, we're going to go to info, and we've got all the info here that we need, right? If we click on this, okay, and we just know the basics of what I just explained to you, right? What the little different nuances of each policy, right? The major med plan is straight major med. Now I've got some info right in front of me, right? If I'm on the phone with a client, I call it dancing, right? When I'm on the phone with a client, you have to be able to dance. Okay. It's the things that, really can't be taught, right? You say, I could teach you guys what to say and all the different products, right? But you got to be able to dance. Okay. So when you have a client on the phone, and let's say it's your first time presenting, right? You're just winging it. Okay. If you can get to this page, now you've got enough right there to present, right? Yeah, you've got the info of the major med plan. Mr. Jones, we're going to talk about a major med policy. Great. Let's start with a $3,500 deductible. All right. It's going to be a $3,500 deductible. Max out of pocket is, 10-1. Copays are $25 to the primary care, $40 for a specialist, $60 for an urgent care, and $30 to see the chiropractor, right? We just got to, it's all right there. Okay. The network that is connected to these policies is going to be PHCS, which is private healthcare systems. Okay. That's going to be, PHCS has been around forever. They're one of the largest PPO networks in the country. So I'd say 90% or better of, providers are going to be in that network. But this is something that, you may not even get to the point of presenting if you do a good qualifying, right? You do a good discovery call up front, finding out who the primary care doctor is for your client, right? Who the kids like to see, right? And shopping that network prior to getting to this point. You're going to save yourself a lot of aggravation if, God forbid, you close the deal and all of a sudden the doctor they want to see is not in the network, right? And that's happened a couple of times. So do a good qualifier up front. Go back and watch the sales training that we did a couple of weeks ago where we talk about qualifying a prospect, right? But PHCS is the network. And guys, here's where you shop the network. All right. They really do a nice job. The one thing I do like about LifeX is the two guys that run this program, Steve Tucker and Joe Crivlow. These are guys that have come up in this industry, specifically the under 65 individual health space, right? So they have done a nice job of building a product that they know the industry was starving for, but then they've also done a fantastic job of putting the sales tools together for agents like us to just make it real smooth, right? And real simple. I mean, they're like, here's the network that it is, and let's give them instructions on how to shop that network and how to shop for that doctor. Okay. So they just do a really nice job. All right. And I can do that with you guys, right? We can go over that with you guys. But remember, too, any nuts and bolts support that you guys need, Joe Moranto is your go-to, right? He's been my partner for over a decade. He's plugged in now on this deal to do exactly that, to support you guys on the nuts and bolts, all right? All the little, meat and potatoes support that you guys will need as you dive into these sales processes. So anyway, here's the information on the $3,500 deductible major med plan. Now we want to get a price tag, okay? We go to pricing, and let's say, let's start with myself. I'm 43 years old, and I want to view the cost. And it's going to give you the prices for myself, for me and my spouse, for me and my kids, or for my entire family. Now, notice these price tags are going to be quite a bit higher than some of the other products that we have out there, right? If you guys were on the training last week, we talked about Manhattan Life, and I said it several times, where for the value, I think that Manhattan Life is going to give you the best bang for your buck, right? In terms of what you're spending and what you're taking out on that policy, that is going to offer the most value. And I still stand by that, right? And so I tell clients like this, if price is not an issue, right? If it's not going to be a part of the decision-making process, we're going to go this route. Okay. I tell them like this. I say, Mr. Jones, I like to say that, we offer the best products on the market. Okay. We have the Bentley of health insurance available, and we have the Mercedes-Benz of health insurance available. The Bentley is, going to be a far superior product, but you're going to pay for it. Okay. And the Mercedes-Benz is going to give you, quite a bit of value, right? It's going to look just as sexy. It's going to give you just as much value, but it's going to be much more affordable for most, right? And so that's kind of how I, lay it out for prospects, right? Do you want, if price tag is not an issue and we just want the best health insurance, then obviously LifeX is going to be the best health insurance that you can get. It's traditional, it's ACA compliant, it covers pregnancy, right? As long as the clients are healthy, then this is going to be the route that we're going to go. All right. But as you can see, they're going to pay a premium for it, right? Not just, an actual premium, but a premium, right? You guys know what I'm saying. All right. So here's how you get the prices. Let's say we're going to go ahead and enroll myself. Okay. And guys, this is available for every single product that we just went over. And in fact, if you guys go to this website too, the plans will have the rates in these brochures. Okay. So these brochures, you can pull up a brochure with the rates. Okay. Let's say you want to do the $3,500, brochure here. Should be the same rate for that 43-year-old. Right, 43, 679, right? And that's what we've got here, right? 679. Yep. So you've got a brochure there with rates, and then just the same, if you guys want to send a brochure without the rates, again, this whole program was developed by, agents that get it, right? They understand the sales process. Sometimes you want to send the brochure to your prospect and just show the benefits, right? You don't want to show them the price tag yet. Okay. So you have that, you have that option. Okay. But let's go ahead and let's pick this policy here. We're going to enroll the $3,500 classic plan for me as an individual. Okay. And we're going to click on enroll. And we're going to enter my first name, my last name, my date of birth. Okay. And obviously we would add my dependents down here. Okay. But if I'm just doing an individual, I put my information in and I'm going to click update. What that does is that updates my cart. Okay. And now you can see I've got that in my cart. Okay. For some reason, I've also got a copay $1,500 in my cart, but we're going to kill that. We're not going to enroll that. Okay. So we can just get rid of that. And there's our plan. Okay. $3,500 deductible, major med, $679 for the individual. Real quick, I want to just compare so you guys can see some of the cost comparisons on these policies. Let's see here. So look on the value plan for the individual. Okay. The $250 deductible under the age of 29, $350, $349. That same a $250 deductible plan, VL plan, is $421, okay, for me, as opposed to $679 for the $3,500 deductible, right? So you can see that VL plan is significantly less expensive. Now, if I went with the $1,500 deductible, look at where I'm at here, $318, right? If my family's really healthy, right? 10 doctor's visits per person is more than enough, right? 3 diagnostic tests per year, more than enough. 2 emergency room, more than enough, right? I get my whole family in on the $1,500 deductible for $885, right? Not bad. Versus what was that cost of the $3,500 deductible for the family? $1,660, right? So half the price. Okay. So the VL plan is certainly comparable to the Manhattan Life policies, right? But when you're talking about limits on coverage, Manhattan has limits. Obviously, this plan has limits, right? You can apples, apples and oranges at that point, right? Going back and forth. But anyway, not to go too deep in the pricing, I just wanted you guys to see some of the comparisons. Let's look at the real quick before we go on to the application. Let's look at the copay plan and what the price tag would be for that same 43-year-old, 489 to 419, right? Depending on deductible. Right now, this one has no limits on the amount of copays, but I do have to meet the deductible before those copays kick in. Right. So, um, obviously the major med plan is going to be the most expensive. All right. But let's say, I'm just buying insurance for, I want the best. All right. So 679 is my policy. And let's go to the application here. All right. Let's just pop in some information. Anything that has a red star there, a red asterisk, has to be filled in. Okay, social. All right. First question, how would you like them to sign? I always do the text message. All right. I think it's the easiest. Okay. Everybody can pretty much in 2026 open a text message and give you a DocuSign. So I always go the text message. You can go email if you want. All right. But I always do text message. And now here's where, the first set of the application is going to be, those questions that you wouldn't be used to seeing on an insurance application. It's more of a job application. So, do you now or will you in the future require immigration sponsorship to work authorization? Blah, blah, blah. No, right? They got to answer no. Are you legally authorized to work in the US? Yes, they have to answer yes. And here's where they're gonna ask you, what's the highest level of education that you completed? Do you have a degree? No, no. All right, you have to fill in the NAs on this stuff. Okay, there's got to be something in there. Degree, no. I'm just moving quick, guys. Graduate school, no. Other, NA. Doctorate, no. Other, NA. Are you currently in an education program? No. NA. It's going to ask you if you have any active licenses. Let's say I'm a realtor. Okay, yeah, I've got a realtor's license. Anything else you can put in the bottom here. The age of the oldest person. Well, I'm 43, so 43. Total dependents. I'm not putting any on the policy right now. Married, yes, but for this purpose, I'm single. Tobacco, no. Now we're going to get into the medical questions, right? And these questions need to be answered no. Now, if all these answers are no, right? If all the questions are answered the way that they should be on the application, then your client is going to get approved. All right. They're going to issue the policy. Okay. They will do their due diligence to go back at a later date to see if they were truthful on the policy. In other words, they're going to take your word for it. They're going to take your client's word for it. But if your client is diagnosed with cancer in 6 months, right, or if they have a heart attack several months down the road, right, they're probably going to do a little deeper dive, right? And if they find out that, your client, I don't know, is type 2 diabetic, 450 pounds, takes several blood pressure medications, several cholesterol medications, they probably shouldn't have been on this policy in the first place, right? You guys understand, right? So they will, do what insurance companies do. All right. and do their due diligence. Okay, but if all these questions are answered accurately, then you got nothing to worry about. Any cancers? No. Kidney? No. I'm just gonna cruise through this so you guys can see it. There is a question towards the end here that we have to answer yes. So you don't just want to breeze through and go, no, 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 no. I know you guys don't do that. You're all professionals, right? We answer all these questions truthfully and we read them all word for word, right? Verbatim. The one question at the end is going to be, are you willing to share personal health data, right? And complete short questionnaires throughout the year. You have to answer that yes, okay? Because that's the whole point, right? Remember, they have to complete a survey, at least one, right? And get paid so they can be labeled as an employee of LifeX Research Corp and take advantage of the group plan, okay? Would you like to receive a physical card? Yes. Make sure that you get a card sent to them. All right. Here's where you'll answer the credit card information. Check the box. I'm not a robot, and you'll submit it. At that time, your client will get that text message, and that's when they'll do their DocuSign. All right, they're gonna do, and this is one of those, and you guys are used to it, right? Doing life insurance. This is one of those elaborate ones, right? It's gonna have, I don't know, half a dozen initials, several signatures. Okay. So, I like to keep my client on the phone while they're doing it. Let them take their time, take your time, read through it, go ahead and, initial everything that needs to be initialed. The nice thing about DocuSign is it won't let them miss anything, right? They can't click finish unless they do it all. All right. And once that's done, they will show up. You're going to get a back office. Okay. You'll be able to log into your back office and you have to search. If you click on view members, you're not going to be able, nothing's going to pop up. All right. You're going to have to search for them. And that's a glitch they have in the system. I wish that this wasn't this way. But you'll have to do an advanced search and search for the client specifically. And I've got one of my good friends on this, so I'm just going to pull this up so you guys can see real quick. Once they complete the signature portion, it's going to tell you that it's completed. Okay. See how it says complete? So this is how you'll monitor, this is how you'll track your policies, right? If they don't complete it, it will say incomplete, and you actually have the ability to resend it to them. All right. So you can keep your eye on it. That's something that's nice, right? I always like that feature because we know that once the deal is done, it's not really done, right? They got to get through the signature portion, right? That really is a closed deal. Okay. So you guys will be able to track your clients, and it's really nice too in that back office. I don't want to leave that page up too long, right? But you guys will be able to see the billing. Okay. So if a client's policy or payment gets declined 1 month, it'll show. They'll get an email, you'll get an email, it'll show. So they really do a nice job of giving you all the information that you need to track your business in that back office. Okay. Once they do that, once they complete the signature, now the effective dates are always the first of the following month. Okay. So let's say you did a deal today, it would go into effect June 1st, but it's got to be in by the 20th. Okay. It's got to be in by the 20th of each month in order to go into effect the first of the following month. Okay. And then the premiums are drafted on the 15th of each month. Okay. Prior to the next month. Okay. So if, we sign somebody up today, we can push their premium payment out till the 15th of this month. All right. Or I think the 17th at the latest. Okay. But then that will pay for June. And then they're going to get charged again June 15th for July. Okay. So it's always 2 weeks ahead. All right. That's how the premium payments run. Your client will receive an email. Let's see if I can pull that up here.
While you're pulling that up, Drew, one of the good questions in the chat was um, foreign national status. Do we need a social or legal immigration paperwork to enroll?
Say that again.
Do we need a social or legal immigration paperwork to enroll? So if someone is a foreign national, are we able to do that or no?
You will need a social.
Okay.
All right, so this is the email your client will get. All right. You'll want your client to set up their EWH, their employee wellness hub. Okay. And they'll get that the ability to do that in this email. Okay. That's basically their client back office. That's where they can get pre-authorizations. They're going to need pre-authorizations upon if they're submitted in the hospital, they've got to get that authorized within 48 hours. Okay. And usually this is stuff that, the billing department of the hospital usually does, right? But, you want to let your clients know, like, hey, if you're hospitalized, give me a call, right? One of these days on the training, we're going to talk about advocacy. And we'll talk about, how we can get our advocacy team involved in those things. And you guys are going to want to utilize our advocacy team as much as possible for these kinds of things. But pre-authorization in the hospital is needed, right? So within 48 hours. All right. The only waiting period on these plans is 90 days for elective surgery. Okay, so somebody couldn't get a gastric bypass. Again, if they needed that gastric bypass, they probably shouldn't be on this plan, right? But they can't have um, any elective surgeries for 90 days, right? It's got to be medically necessary, in other words, right? And that's why they do the pre-auth, right? And nobody's going in the hospital typically if it's not medically necessary, right? We don't just go into the hospital for fun, obviously. But that's what they're trying to avoid is the elective stuff. So this is the email your clients will get, and they get a nice little welcome packet here. All right, that kind of walks them through the employee wellness hub. The pharmacy benefit manager tells them about the pre-auths, and how to download the app for their employee wellness hub. Teledoc is all included. All right, so they get a nice little welcome packet, how to shop the network, all right, how to do a mail order for their drugs, and on, right? If they do the dental and vision with Humana, all right. So, and then they get their cards. They'll get their cards mailed to them prior to the effective date, and usually it's like the day before. Okay, so usually, like, if I sign somebody up today for a June 1 effective date, they're going to get their cards emailed to them by probably May 31st, right? The day before it's effective. And then they're also going to get mailed the same day. So their cards usually don't come until about a week after the policy goes into effect. So, these are just things, let the client know, because the last thing you want is a client calling you on the second of the month. I didn't get my cards. Is this a scam? You're scamming me, blah, blah, blah. Right? Like, people will freak out. So just make sure that, you let them know cards come usually, within 7 business days of your policy going into effect, but you do get cards emailed to you prior to the effective date. LifeX does a training every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Is it Eastern or Central? Bear with me here. Let me just confirm real quick.
Should be Eastern. They're in Charlotte, right?
No, Compass is in Missouri, actually.
Oh. 11 a.m. Central.
Central. Okay, yeah. All right, good. Thank you. So 11 a.m. Central every Wednesday. Once you guys are appointed, you're going to get invites to that. All right. And then they do a Q&A every week as well, which I think is on, I think they do a Q&A on Fridays at noon Central. Don't quote me on that, but they do a nice job of keeping you guys in the loop, with LifeX and what's going on. They've always got, some top performers of LifeX, hosting the trainings and kind of giving you their own angle. But guys, a couple things that some agent stuff now, right? Some cool stuff. Guys, this is all level commission. Okay. Um, you get paid every month. Uh, it's level, right? So by month 13, you're getting paid the exact same rate that you were, month one. So you have an opportunity to build a very nice book of business with this. And it's significantly larger than ACA commissions. All right. So, you do a policy with LifeX. The average, I'm going to call it, is going to be 800 to, it could be 800 to 1400 annual commission. And that's level. All right. That is level. And then that doesn't include, the supplemental product that you're going to add on, or the critical illness, or the term life, or the dental and vision. Right. So, I'll tell you what, man, I love getting those LifeX checks, right? Because I know that they're coming this month, they're coming next month, they're coming the following, and on and on. And these are policies that typically stay on the books. They are, very traditional health insurance policies. They operate that way, and clients understand them. And if they can afford them, then they're usually going to stay. They're usually going to stay with them. So, um, just to clarify, your client for LifeX is a healthy individual that makes money. They can't qualify for subsidies on the marketplace. The policies are going to be way too expensive on the marketplace, and they're shopping for insurance with benefits being the only part of the decision-making process. All right. Price tag means nothing to them. Okay. That's going to be your client when it comes to life. Okay. Um,
Hey, Drew, could you address one of the I guess you'd say some of the legal things that people are going to see online because people research this stuff, and I've run into it. Several agents on this call have also run into it. If someone Googles LifeX or things like that, what are some talking points or counterpoints?
yeah. So, um, America's Choice was the initial product, right? That was basically LifeX, right? And America's Choice utilized the Blue Cross Blue Shield of Nebraska PPO. Okay, and that is a nationwide PPO network, and it gives them the blue card access, right? And so very exciting stuff, right? And what happened was it was pretty much an agent training issue, right? Because now you had agents going out there and they were marketing America's Choice as Blue Cross Blue Shield, right? Because when people got their cards, it had the the Blue Cross Blue Shield logo on it, right? So you could literally, that's what they were saying. It's Blue Cross Blue Shield, right? And that's what they were selling it as. And so Blue Cross Blue Shield, Anthem, sued America's Choice, and I don't know, what happened from that point. I don't know, what the I haven't done any research as far as um, the case is concerned and how it all shook out. But I know that it caused the founders of America's Choice, Joe and Steve, to pivot, right? To basically dump it, and they sold America's Choice to Iron Health. And we're going to do some training on that within the next couple of weeks. And Iron Health is a very similar product. The company that we will be recruiting employees for is population science management. So they do kind of a similar program, and we'll be enrolling clients into Iron Health, and we'll still be utilizing the Blue Cross Blue Shield of Nebraska network, right? But that was, so you can kind of see how it was being, portrayed to clients. And, Blue Cross wasn't having it, right? Anthem wasn't having it because people were calling Anthem saying, "This is my insurance, what's going on?" And Anthem had no record of it, right? Because it wasn't Anthem, right? All they had was the Blue Care network that they were a part of. So that was really, that's what started the whole thing. And just most recently, so Joe and Steve had to dump America's Choice. Iron Health bought it, and that's who's operating it now. Population Science Management. They have the Blue Cross Blue Shield network. They also have the Aetna network. And I guess those two companies, LifeX and PSM and Iron Health, they're basically at war for this space, right? The two of them, right? If you want to talk, just get behind the scenes in business in general. I mean, those two are basically going to war. And I think Iron Health is, they're doing whatever they can to weaken LifeX, and LifeX recently had the Cigna network pull out. Again, I don't know why. I don't know why all that happened, but I assume that Iron Health had some influence in that decision, I would think, right? And so now, LifeX is left with the PHCS network, which isn't a horrible thing because, again, PHCS is a huge network. But that's kind of where it all stands right now, right? So you have PSM and LifeX, the two companies that are recruiting research people, right? Healthy people to research and conduct surveys for them. And we're going to be marketing both, right? But I do like the LifeX product quite a bit. We're going to dive into the Iron Health products. And you guys as brokers will have the option to go whichever way you choose. That's why we do it the way we do it, right? Because as brokers, we are going to offer the best products on the market, and it's up to you guys to run with the ones that you believe in the most, right? If you think PSM is a better play than LifeX, God bless you. Go hard with PSM. I talk about it all the time, guys, where I say I like Manhattan Life. I think just in terms of value, I really like that because what's the reality is a lot of people do buy insurance with the cost being a part of the decision, right? So if I'm looking at a $1,600 LifeX plan versus a $600 Manhattan plan, right? And I can save them $1,000 a month on premium alone, and they're healthy enough to where they're probably not spending $1,000 on healthcare any month, right? Any given month, right? So of course they want to save that money in their premium. I can build a ton of value in that play, right? But again, you are going to come across your people that do very, very well, and they just want the best, right? And that's when LifeX and PSM are going to come into the play for us. So.
And I'll just
But
say
yeah, as far
too,
as like the nuts and bolts of the legal battle, I don't have any insight on that. But I will tell you, if clients are, if prospects or clients are asking about it, that's all it really was it was a training issue, right? Agents were selling the policy as Blue Cross Blue Shield, and it obviously wasn't.
well, I'll tell you right now too, I have the major medical plan, and we literally got it January 1, and we were coming back from a trip to uh, Cabo, Mexico, Cancun. And both my boys got sick in Cancun. And so we literally had to download the card and use it immediately. And so far, like It's been working fantastic. So, like a major medical plan should. So the interesting thing is that when you see the stuff online, like Drew said, it is a training issue. It's just like someone saying an IUL, you're investing in the market. You're not, you're mirroring the market. So it is a different animal when it comes to the training perspective and how you deliver the message. So if you search on the internet, you'll find what you're looking for. Trust me. But if you take it from me, I actually have it. I'm using it. It's worked great. And I'll continue to use it because I need the PPO type plan because I travel so much. So it's been fantastic. But Netra, it is a great question. You will see some stuff online. If I recall correctly, they lost Blue Cross lost and now, they're doing a countersuit. So from what I heard, so Netra, I haven't had it many years. I had it starting this year and, so far so good.
Yeah. Yeah, to piggyback what Phil just said, I mean, that's something I tell clients all the time is, if you want to look at reviews of any insurance company, I mean, people don't tend to go online and sing their praises, right? They go
Ever,
online
ever.
when they're
Pissed.
upset, right? And so when it comes to insurance companies specifically, I have clients ask me all the time, well, I read the reviews on this plan. I said, okay, cool. Do me a favor, show me an insurance company that has great reviews online, right?
Hmm.
And it just doesn't exist. So, but yeah, I mean that in particular, that case in particular was, yeah, it was a training issue.
Yeah. Any other questions, guys? You got a couple minutes. Well, what I'll say is, for everybody on this call, and also we'll answer that question in a sec. For everybody on the call, if you are interested in getting this service, let me know. I will send you the email to get it set up. If you are planning on building out a team structure, also let me know. So that way I can see how to make it all work. But nonetheless, this is a something you should definitely have as an arrow in your quiver outside of the ACA marketplace. It's streamlined, easy to explain. Even I can do it. Um, so yeah, I guess the last question: how is claims processed like regular ACA plans? Drew, do you want to handle that one or?
Yeah, exactly like that. It's processed just like any other traditional health insurance policy. So uh, um, it's going to be BHPI, Benefit Health Plan Inc., which is the TPA. They're processing the claims, but yeah, they do it just like any other TPA. So next week, guys, we're going to be training on Allstate. All right, we're going to go through Allstate's portfolio, and I like Allstate a lot for the supplements. Okay, um, we're gonna look at how some of the supplemental products tie into some of the plans that we've gone over to this point. And then we've got Philadelphia American on the schedule a couple of weeks from today. And then I think that after that we're gonna go over V Care. But real quick, I just want to touch on that, guys. V Care, because we just got Valor contracted with V Care. V Care is um, the advocacy membership that I recommend you sign every single client up with that you sell health insurance to, because health insurance is a totally different animal than life insurance. When you do a life deal, it's done, right? They pay their premiums and you don't ever want to hear from them, because when you hear from them, that means that, right, the worst, thing happened. With health insurance, there's a lot of service that is involved with these clients. Now, there's some upside to that, right? Because it gives you the ability to build a good book of business, to earn some good residual income. And if you build that block of business and you service those clients, that's a book of business that you can leverage and live off of for years. And I'm certainly proof of that. I took a couple of years off and I'm excited to start building again. But, um, you know, the advocacy membership is going to be crucial to allow you to focus on what you do best, which is to continuously build your business and acquire new clients. Because when you get that 100 or 200 clients on the books with health insurance, unless you want to become a customer service rep, I strongly recommend that you enroll your clients in a VCare membership. And the good thing about that is usually you would have to hire a customer service rep, right, to service your clients. This is a scenario where you can enroll your customers into an advocacy membership. They'll buy it because they see the value and they understand that our healthcare system is a mess, right? And that's something that you get paid for. So not only do you get your time, right, freed up and allow you to make more money, but you actually get paid off of the membership itself. All right, so it's a total win-win. Yeah, how pregnant though? What is that?
I'm just
How pregnant though?
as I say, usually the enrollment questions. So with LifeX, right, the enrollment questions are the questions. So once you do, you get it all squared away. So from the standpoint of, if they ask about pregnancy, things like that, right there, pregnant, expecting, or receiving. So if they said yes, would they be knocked out or
Yes, knocked out.
oh, they would? All right, never mind. Not sure, I was wrong. Um,
Yeah,
so
you
yeah,
got to
that makes sense.
get them before they're pregnant.
Get them before they get knocked out. Um, Awesome. All right. Well, I know we went into overtime. We're a little 10 minutes past the hour, so this will be up on the YouTube channel afterwards. So if you guys have any additional questions, what I will say is, again, if you want to reach out to me, just, Phil at valorfs.com. In regards to contracting, all that stuff, we'll get you squared away. And yeah, so appreciate the time, Drew. Thank you so much for the training, and we'll keep rocking and rolling, guys.
I put Joe's info in there, guys, if you want to just real quick in the chat. Joe Moranto, again, he's the nuts and bolts. But yeah, go to Phil for contracts, and then anything after that moving forward, Joe is your meat
Yeah,
and
man.
potatoes guy.
Awesome. Thanks, Drew.
Thanks, guys. Have a good week.
Later.